Thank you. This is a special meeting of the Black Liberation Caucus of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, U.S. section. And in this special meeting, we've invited members of the MENA region, in particular of WILF, to speak about the situation in Gaza and in Palestine. So this meeting is open to all who are interested in Free Palestine, which is one of our commitments. And so we will begin the speakers with Hanan, Palestine, who is now in Mexico, and then we'll go with Shireen, and then Hala, and then Diala, and they'll be speaking about 7 minutes.
Okay.
So Hanan, would you begin?
Yes, my dear. Dear Beatrice, dear U.S. section, I'm very honored to be with you, with all the sadness and the pain. The story of Palestine and Gaza, it speaks about itself by itself. And I'm sure you know the details and the difficulties and the crimes against Palestinians, the genocide, the killing every minute in Palestine, in Gaza, and even in the West Bank. We have every day 2-3 martyrs. The demand of the Palestinians, as you know, they are resisting in order to achieve their independence, rid of occupation, the last ugly occupation in the world. And the story of what they are doing in the genocide, it cannot be described, even in the old legend. We read lots of epics in the world. We never believe that it will become a reality against the Palestinian people. The story is so detailed, and I'm sure you are watching every day the development. Netanyahu and the occupation, they don't want to stop the fire. They want to kill all the Palestinians in Gaza. This is one of their plans, as a political, even as a religious, and they have no mercy. And the strange is the big powers. Biden stand firm with them, sending all the weapons and arms to fight against the Palestinian. If this happens in any part of the world, you will see all the world climb up and fight and make decision. But for Palestine, no decision. But the Palestinian decision will be above all. The resistance will continue until we achieve our dream, taking into consideration the sadness, the loss of the people, the loss of the land, the destruction. Imagine how the Palestinian woman can live in daily basis. Imagine how the children can have their dreams. Imagine how the people, the old people, and the young people, their dreams, their life, their education. Now in Gaza, everything stopped. Above of this, no food, no assistance. The occupation do not allow the international organization to send the aid to Palestinians. America initiated a very suspicious plan to have a port in Gaza, to send the food to the Palestinian, and I'm sure it's not that going on. There are lots of conspiracies. There are lots of plans for the big powers on Gaza. Our steadfastness will be the answer, but I can say the situation is not difficult. It cannot be described. I feel my words when I speak cannot describe these crimes against the Palestinian people, that it never happened in any part of the world. The question is what we do as well international. We have lots of statement, determination on the resolution and sitting and many things we have done. Now we are in a critical period to support the resolution that can have an effect. All what we wrote, all the resolution, nobody listens. Then we can make possible things, well, to assist the people of Gaza, the members of WILF, the families who lost their houses, I'm not sure if we can do that in Palestine. Anyway, Palestine is not have this money to help, but we hope to help as many families as we can. How to put pressure on the big power? They don't listen. All the world demonstrate, but they don't listen. I thought about if Wolf International, I sent that proposal to the president, we can make international conference in support of Palestinian. This implies that members of sections in different parts of the world, in addition to experts, that we discuss and have strong statement and resolution and go to the powers, to the big powers to say stop. Enough is enough. 75 years of occupation and pain. That is enough. This is what I think that we can do as possible and for the future steps that we can do. In such a situation, and as a writer, I would like to dedicate to you this poem that describes what's going on in Gaza. I read it in Arabic and I summarize it for you, which gives exactly what's going on. The poem calls, I know that you are Gaza, I know that you are the exception. Oh Gaza. دخان أسود يغطي الفضاء ورماد ملقى في مسافات الرعب وجثث تفر من الحياة بلا قرار وصرخات تمزق الأحشاء عاشق يمسك ألوان الحياة وقصة أحزان ترسم آفاق الغيب وطفولة تقضي ومضاء الصخور والهدم يروي قصة الليل المعفر بالرجاء شجيرات تودع فروعها سماء تودع نجومها وأقمار حائرة تشاهد الحدث أي رعب قاتل وأي نص يستطيع أن يرسم الإيقاع في رحلة الوداع ألحان جنائزية واحتراق وألعاب الطفولة في أروقة الفراق وحزمة أمل دموع بقوة الأنهار لا تطفئ النار ولا تعيد جدارا ولا روح غادرت عبث في الحياة وطبول بإيقاع الموت لقد غادر الصوت وصارت الورود تائهة على من تلقي أغصانها وعلى من تنثر أريجها في رحلة التيه على من ترتقي الحياة بإرادة القدر على من غادر في أكاليل الوداع أم من وقف في تحدي الرجوع صرخات تفجر نواصي الجبال وترسم المحال وتقتفي الأثر تبحث عن خبر في رحلة الخطر والمحزونون قوافل في رحلة الأحزان آه يا جرح الأوطان يا جرح الأوطان الدم العربي هان في لعبة الأمم آه يا جرح الأوطان الدم العربي هان في لعبة الأمم أنهار ألم واحتراق الروح ونداء الأخوة في النفس الأخير غاب الضمير وغابت كل شعارات الأمان كأن الضحايا من كرة أخرى ومن عالم بعيد فمن يعيد نبض الحياة إلى الوريد ومن يرسم علب الأطفال من جديد ومن يمسح السواد وقد فات الميعاد وتوقف الشعار عند أبواب الرحيل وداعا وداعا لمن فارقوا وأملا بالحياة لمن يصارعون الموت ينتظرون رحلة الأقدار. It says like lots of smoke, black smoke, and lots of dead people without their decision, and people are trying to have their dream to achieve it. Or the situation like the trees and the sky and the moons, they don't do what to do. The trees do not know where to put its branches. The flowers do not know where to whom send the fragrance. It is a very, very strong horror. What kind of writing can describe this journey of departure, or the tunes of funerals, or all the children are in the roads of departure. Tears like rivers, it cannot leave the fire, it cannot return a wall or a man or a child who passed away. Well, I say, oh, the wound of the homeland, oh, the wound of the homeland. The Arab blood become, the people do not care to the Arab blood in the game of the nations. Rivers of pain burning in the soul, calling for brothers in all over the world. The conscience have departed. All the slogans of security and human rights have gone, as if the victims coming from another world. So we call, who can give back the life to the child? Who can give back the life to Palestine? Who can stop departure from Palestine? We say farewell, farewell to all those who departed, and we put the hope for who are still struggling with this, waiting for the destiny mercy and fighting and resisting for independence and freedom. Thank you.
Shireen, please begin.
Thank you, Teresa, and thank you for convening this meeting, which comes at a very critical time in history. I will be taking the part on Lebanon, and my colleagues Hala and Jala will be covering other parts. Just to say that it's not the first time that there's a war on Lebanon by Israel and aggression. It just happened that this time Lebanon was almost a failed state, a state without a president, without a real government, with a state that is facing financial situation, facing inflation and hyperinflation. With all this in mind, we had also the aggression on Lebanon on one hand, and a constant also threat of turning Lebanon into Gaza. What has happened since October 7, 2023 has resulted in the death of 316 people in Lebanon, 88% of which are women, 22 to 44 of age, and injuries that are almost 1,125. 34% of those are killed are out of explosive, 18% are those of chemical explosive. And these are all the documentation of the Ministry of Public Health in Lebanon on the humanitarian aftermath of the aggression. It's not only the impacts that it has on people, but the impact that the conflict had on the human security as a whole, where we have now more than maybe 200,000 internally displaced in Lebanon, from the south of Lebanon to other places. What we have now in Lebanon and the implications that will not only be felt now, and which the Human Rights Watch depicted as the white phosphorus weapons increases the lifelong sufferings of the people. With this in mind, we have seen the destruction of lots of civilian infrastructures. We have seen how a woman, a mother, a grandmother, and two daughters being targeted with drones in the south of Lebanon. We've seen how families were targeted in their houses in Lebanon, and we have seen how civilians were being killed in cold blood. Between October and November 2023, we have seen 462 hectares of forest and agriculture that has been destroyed out of this aggression. And unfortunately, one of the things that we can also here call upon is how we can also make the reporting on the greenhouse gas emissions obligatory to states, to say that it's not only about using weapons and the implications that it has on the people, but also the implications on the climate change. In short, before I hand in to my colleague Hala, I want to say that people in Lebanon are mentally traumatized, and with the failed state that we are passing through, and with the constant attacks, daily attacks, and daily surveillance out of drones by Israeli occupation forces, we are in constant fear. And definitely we have also certain steps that we need to call the uh, uh, international community, especially WILF, to revisit what is the vision mission of WILF as a peace organization. Thank you. Hala?
Thank you, Shireen. Should I go ahead, Teresa?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Go
Hala.
ahead. Go ahead, Hala. Go ahead. Thank you.
So thanks again for convening us here. It actually, as Shireen said, it comes at a timely moment. This genocide that is being live streamed, this is a first of its kind. There's been genocides before, but this is the first time that is actually unfolding right before our eyes, and we can actually see what's going on. It is first in its kind because there is no shame for the Israeli offense forces. They are recording their crimes and putting them on TikTok for the world to see. This means that they don't feel accountable, and they have no respect to international law. And the only explanation of this is because the US is as complicit in this genocide as Israel, and Israel is merely an instrument for the US. The genocide would stop tomorrow if the US stopped sending weapons and sending financial support to the settler colonialist project. So it is extremely important for a massive mobilization by civil society in the US to hold their leaders accountable and to use all legal instruments, which my colleague Jala will talk about shortly, in order to stop sending American citizens finances and weapons from the US to be used in grave human rights violations happening right now in Gaza. The ceasefire that is now tabled by the US this is like green lighting, gaslighting, however you want to call it. It's completely different from the ceasefire that the majority of the world wants, which is a permanent end to the genocide, a permanent end to the dehumanization of the Palestinian people, a permanent end to the lies that are being spewed not only by the Israelis, but by all the press conferences we have been seeing by the Biden administration. So the US continues to be the only obstacle in the way of achieving an actual ceasefire. Joe Biden and his administration are brazenly greenlighting Israel's terrorism while trying to lie to our faces. As a result, you will see an invasion of Rafah, the place where around 1.1 million people are all crammed up because they were told to move from the north of Gaza. And this will be done in complete collaboration with the US government. And basically, the pier that is being right now constructed under the guise of it being a humanitarian corridor is a complete lie. And the way it is being built with the rubble of destroyed buildings and infrastructure in Gaza. It is mixed with the remains of people who have been killed by the Israelis with US weapons. And this is immoral. This is the heightened level of immorality and the stain on all of us. It's beyond illegal. It's a battle against racism and colonialism that we are at. And we must mobilize across sectors and across civil society, especially in the US. The media are not doing their job. They are actually providing platform for Israeli propaganda and lies. The governments are obviously not doing their jobs, and they are not sanctioning Israel. They're not obliging this racist project to commit to international law. It's undermining international humanitarian law and all the human rights laws. This is creating a very dangerous precedent. Academia are still not doing their job. We see attacks on Palestinian activists and their supporters in universities in the US and other places in Europe. There is conflation between Judaism and anti-Semitism. Between Judaism and Zionism. So anyone who criticizes the genocide committed by Israel is called anti-Semitic. And this is extremely, extremely dangerous. Students are being targeted, and all doctors around the world are seeing the destruction of the hospitals in Gaza. This is the 4th time that the Shifa hospital is being invaded. People are being executed inside hospitals. Patients are being killed inside hospitals. Women are being raped. And the detainees are being, like doctors, are being tortured. And basically, there's not one single war crime that Israel has not committed right before our eyes. 85% of the people are internally displaced. We have 74,000 injured. And we all hear about the 30,000 people killed. There are people who stay under the rubble. And while the US is able to mobilize tractors, equipment to build the pier in 8 hours from Cyprus, they have not mobilized this equipment to rescue people from under the rubble. As a result, this number you hear about 30,000, 32,000, it's more than that. But because people are still alive under the rubble, that they are not being counted. So it's much more than that. I think my time is up. There's a lot to say. There's a lot happening. It's a real Holocaust. People are being maimed, burned, tortured. And we really welcome the solidarity we have from people and citizens around the world. But governments are not respecting. 80% of the registered Democrats are against this, yet the Biden administration is not respecting it. So we really need to mobilize. I don't think we have time to create more awareness. The awareness is there, but we really need to campaign hard. We really need to stop this system and escalate all the mobilizations that are happening around the world. Thank you very much.
Yes, Hala, and we'll hear from Diala. Is Diala available? Hanan,
Yes.
you have your hand up. Do you need to leave?
Yes, my dear, I just want to apologize I have to go to my lecture now. The ambassador is waiting down. I'm very happy to meet you. I'm sure my sisters in Lebanon will give you the whole story and anything you need. I write to you and we continue, and I agree with any decision you take. Thank you so much for
Well, thank
everyone.
you. We know you're in Mexico. It is just amazing how you
Yes.
all are traveling internationally for the cause. So
Yes.
please do what you need to do, Hanan, and we will be with you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very thankful to you. I feel what you feel, and I know how sincere you are doing. And I hope that together, at least our voice has to be heard, and the justice will come, inshallah. Bye bye. إلى اللقاء
Inshallah.
أخواتي وعزيزاتي. إلى اللقاء.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye.
Diala, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Please begin.
I will talk briefly, and I will take it from where Hala ended, which is about the actions to be taken. I will talk briefly about the legal action to be taken. So, while international humanitarian law specifically does protect civilians in conflict zones areas, but it cannot enforce itself. That definitely. While there is an ongoing judicial proceeding at the level of the ICJ, but the states needs also to respect it, and to respect it precisely in terms of supporting Israel with arms and weapons aid and transfers. Until now, only very few countries, including Belgium, the Netherlands, Italy, Spain, and a Japanese company for arms has stopped and suspended their arms transfer to Israel. At the same time, the major countries providing Israel with weapons are the United States and then Germany. While there has been one judicial proceeding in the United States, a civil case against Biden, but it does have nothing to do with any attempts to commit the American administration to its international obligations according to the Geneva International Treaty of 1949, according to the order issued by the ICJ on the 26th of January, and according to the Arms Trade Treaty as well, which all commit the states to suspend a transfer of arms, not if they know and not if they were sure that they were going to be used in international crimes, but even if there was some risk of being used for international crimes. This was actually the argumentation of a higher court in the Netherlands that decided a couple of months ago after after a lawsuit that was initiated by an NGO. It decided to order the government to hold transfer of certain parts of jets, I believe, to Israel, simply because there's a strong risks of that these arms will be used in genocide, and also based on the ruling issued by the ICJ on the 26th of January. So what I suggest is to try to communicate with not lawyers, but legal communities, especially maybe the Constitutional Center, I will find the name now, the NGOs in the United States that act on behalf of the general public to try to commit the administration to its international obligations, which are usually binding and or equal to the Constitution clauses as well. So what I suggest is that this with section in the United States, your section, and any American activists that really want to do something practical or something that might make a change in the involvement of the United States in this genocide in Gaza, is to try to reach out to legal centers, activist lawyers who would be willing to act in initiating a judicial proceeding that would aiming at banning the administration of transfer further arms and weapons to Israel based on the 1949 Convention, Geneva Convention, based on the 27th of January order of the International Court of Justice, and based on the United Nations statements and reports, and also based on a very important statement issued actually last month on the 23rd of February. I will share the link now to the chat. It was issued by over 14 special UN rapporteur, and who called for immediate stop of arms export to Israel, and it was very well justified in terms of legal application of all the states, including regardless whether these states know for sure if these weapons are being used in committing these atrocities or not. This is something that needs to be done in the United States, that needs to be done in Germany, and that needs to be done in any country that is actually supporting Israel with weapons, arms, or training, or funds, or any means of support to the continuous armed conflict, or the continuous genocide, to be more exact. So I'm going to share the link to the statement that actually summarizes the whole idea now, and I'm going to share as well, but you can find it online, the name of this American center that has initiated the civil law case against Biden, because they should be capable of either carrying on such initiative, or at least linking you with lawyers or legal centers that would be willing to do this.
Thank you, Diala. That's important. And we have Heidi with us from Germany. Don't be ashamed, Heidi. You're on the good side of this fight. So Heidi, if you could unmute yourself and say a few words about how German solidarity is shaping up on the question of Gaza. Please, Heidi, speak.
I really don't want to go into details, because I said I will mostly listen today, and I think it's an extremely difficult situation in Germany, but we have so many interesting groups now, from the really dialogue groups, combatants for peace, women wage peace, solidarity groups, and this is what is still functioning very well. But on the other side, we in Wealth, for example, we are immediately called anti-Semites. So this is the situation which we are continuously confronted with. But on the other side, we go on, we listen, we try to bring the voices from all of you, from Shirin, Hala, Diala, really to where it's needed. And I think this is what we can do in solidarity with you, feeling the incredible suffering and the stupidity of the world. Thank you. This was what I wanted to say.
Well, thank you, Heidi. Well, it's very important that we have this international organization that we're a part of, with 52 sections around the world, 18 sections in Africa. And because South Africa stepped up and made the charge of genocide to the ICJ, it is creating an important movement of Pan-Africans around the world to say no to genocide. South Africa took another step and kicked Israel out of South Africa, closing the Israeli embassies. And so we're at the point right now where there is an international movement that says no more genocide. We are anti-Zionist. We're not anti-Jewish. We're anti-Zionist because the Zionist project is a racist project from its very inception. And we know that because President Truman said it when he was president, that he was trying to talk to them about why they just can't move millions of people off their land and take over the land. And he tried to stop them, but it didn't work. So we have the Nakba and we have the genocide that has gone on for as long as I've been on this earth. I was born in 1948, and I feel I was born for just such this moment, to fight the genocide of the state of Israel. And so we're going to open it up now. I know that quite a few people were writing in the chat. And so I would like for Kim Poole, who's one of our members who just came back from the CSW. So Kim Poole, could you speak a little bit on this topic to suggest what we might do next? And keep writing in the chat, everyone, because we will save it. Hi, Kim Poole.
Greetings, everyone. Certainly, I don't have anything to say that hasn't already been said. I want to acknowledge some of the efforts that were made during the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women in side events. We just want you to know that global African women are standing up. We stand in ally with you. We understand that a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And we were protesting at the United Nations in the streets on 44th Street that we mentioned this affront to this disrespect for human life in our side event, which took place on March 19th, as well as March 21st. March 19th was during the event We're Stronger Together, held by the International Secretariat of WILF. And during that time, I was able to meet and speak with our international president, Ms. Sylvia Ndonga, and as well as many of the staff members of WILF, like Ms. Adalade Barat. She's there based in Geneva, as well as Ms. Sophie Anatelli. She's based in the Netherlands, and many of our sisters from the Senegalese section of WILF, as well as the Cameroon section of WILF. And so I brought with me Global African Sheroes Union members from the Netherlands, Kentucky, Detroit, and Cleveland, Ohio. And so just know that you have allies in Global African Women that stand for peace and freedom. And we see what's happening and we're saying something about it. And we're using our leverage in our member countries to use that voice collectively during the UN CSW 68. And so continue to raise your voice, staying strong. Know that we are dealing with things on the home front. We have in Kivu, Congo, we're dealing with genocide. That is the same expression. It's the same manifestation, different expressions of the same imperialistic neo-colonialist efforts to extract resources. And so it is being done in public. They're now using social media, and we're using that same social media as a tool against them. And so please share your contact information in the WhatsApp group chat so that we can promote your messages in real time as you caucus in Mexico. I heard that you're doing things in Lebanon, wherever you may be around the world. Let's use technology as a tool to bridge this digital divide and make sure that we can continue to keep this message in the faces of people that are apathetic or don't feel connected to this narrative. But global African women at the UNCSW last week know that we do feel connected, and we are standing in solidarity with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. So is there anyone else who would like to speak? Dr. Ridley, are you there?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Sister Teresa. I cannot add and embellish any more than the eloquence of Kim Poole and the speakers today. I too returned from CSW 68 last week, and as many of you know or may not know, I am here in New York City trying to determine how best we can expand in New York City, which is essentially the hub where the United Nations is. But as we can see, we are plugged in all over the world. And I just want to applaud everybody's energy. I think too, the African women that we met last week are very, very plugged in. And we are finding out more and more that we are just one people and there's one right way to go. I saw in the chat a suggestion regarding drafting a letter, and I totally endorse that. I agree with that. And any other support I can add as an individual, I certainly will. But I think collectively is where we need to be to pull all of our efforts together.
Absolutely. And because we must use the base of WILF International to do this, the thousands of WILF members around the world, we have to come together to put the weight on our governments because this is a good moment for us in the sense that there's an election coming up and President Biden is reacting to the weight of the demonstrations saying no to genocide in Gaza. So he's putting pressure on Netanyahu to stop it, to pull back. But then on the other hand, they continue to vote more weapons. It is a disingenuous move, and we must tell him to his face until they stop arming Israel. Calls for a ceasefire are not really honest. Yes, George.
I wanted to share, it's not great news, but information. On Friday, Congress passed, as part of the budget that they had to approve, $880 billion to the Pentagon. And they cut, and I'm not going to get the word that means you can't have it forever, suspended, penalized INRA, folks that do the UN human rights folks. They cut their spending absolutely, like killed them. Sorry, it's not better news, but it's the truth. Friday.
Well, thank you. This was a very important part of our meeting today, and we would like to ask our guests if they have any final words before we close out this portion of our meeting. Shireen, Hala, Diala, any final words?
Yes, Teresa, if I may, it's Hala.
Yeah, go ahead, Hala.
Yeah, I want to raise the issue of these Congress people that have been completely bought and co-opted by Israel. AIPAC and other groups just actively pay these people money in order to use their power for the interest of genocide. And the US citizens really need to be very vigilant and aware. This Brian Mast, for example, wore an IDF uniform. Imagine anyone wearing a Nazi uniform in Congress. He wore an IDF uniform to Congress. This is appalling. This is an unacceptable dehumanization of the Palestinian people as if they don't count. And he also expressed words on record about that the babies in Gaza are not civilians. This is normalized narratives. And the flower massacres, like people who are hungry in the north, who are being killed when they're trying to get aid, this also is being normalized. This is signaling a very dangerous point in our humanity. And unfortunately, like we in Lebanon cannot do much. I mean, there is the resistance trying to do, putting pressure from the north on this genocidal machine. But we really need US citizens to say, no, not in our name, not with our money, and find a way to hold these people accountable, because they are using their political might in service of a genocidal few. So I cannot, plea further with you guys. We count on you, and we thank you for whatever you're doing. And for us, the action of Aaron Bushnell has been extremely touching. To us, this is the summum of humanity at a time where we are all failing our Palestinian brethren. I can't imagine the pain that they are going through. But let's try to do our best to stop this. And we're here for whatever you need. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Shireen, your words.
I think Hala said it all. What I would like us to take it from here, let's take some action points and try to see, not only as us here in the room, how can we put together wolf sections, and how can we also collectively work across different regions and decision-making spaces to stop sending weapons to Israel, to hold them complicit, to hold them accountable, to ask first and foremost to cease fire. And this is where we need also to have also our vision and mission really in place, as not as a feminist organization, but as a peace organization.
Well, that's the purpose of this short meeting, and the recording will be distributed widely. And of course, you will be sent the recording to share it widely. And we will share it with the Middle East Peace and Justice Action Committee of the US section. And they are the leaders of this work in the US section. And we have partnered with them as the Black Liberation Caucus to advance this work. So this is just a step along the road to freedom. And so we will continue to work with you and Wolf International and all of us in Wolf to make sure we advance the cause. So we're going to end this portion of the meeting. If we could ask all of our guests to say good night where you are, good afternoon. I believe it's night all over Europe, right? And it's night in Lebanon, it's night in Paris as well, I believe. So we're here in the middle of the afternoon here in the US section on the East Coast and even earlier on the West Coast. So thank you so much for coming, Heidi.
Thank you so much.
And thank you. We'll be in touch soon.
Thank you.
Sure.